Yeah, well, that was fun. Wasn't that fun? Hello, everybody. My name is Joshua Strife. I'm from Indiana University. I run the Internet of Things House. I work for the Security and Privacy Group in Informatics, Computing, and Engineering. We are a 7-professor group with a slew of PhDs, masters, undergraduate students, and I also do educational outreach to 7th grade through 12th grade as well. What I'm going to show you today is the security turtle, and if it looks really, really cute and simple, it's actually based out of some stuff that's not so simple, but it is really cute. And I'm going to give you some background on where we ended up with this and why we ended up where we are. So you're going to see quite a few different things as we go forward. Okay? And if anybody has any questions as we're going, please just raise your hand. Whatever you want, let me know, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. All right. So every day, all of us move around in a world of invisible risk. We can't smell it, we can't see it, we can't touch it, yet it's there. Now, it's not unique to cybersecurity. There are other fields where there are things, places, where there's invisible, untestable, untasteable risk, right? If we worked in a nuclear power plant, we'd have this problem. But users, workers, have ways in which they measure risk so they can decide where they're going to be and what they're going to be doing. Right? Like a dose meter. Notice I went old school on this. I could have gone something much newer, but this makes my old school happy. Okay? And with the users are able to measure that risk and make mitigation choices accordingly. The problem is, our users and all of us have risk every day. You know, we do digital stuff at the coffee shop all the time. Grandma's checking her bank account at Starbucks. There's potential risk there. She can't taste whether it's a risky act. She can't smell it. She can't see it because she doesn't have any way to measure that, right? So she just takes it on faith. Happens in our homes. Happens in our board meetings. And to be frank, happens in our children's bedrooms. Okay? The risk is there. Great or small, we don't know. We move about our days completely oblivious of what the level of risk we're at. Now, many of you here are probably in the risk defense system. You have IDS systems. You know how to run Snood and all sorts of fun stuff. But I'm not sure how much that's going to help Grandma at Starbucks. So, what we tell users, what's our standard advice for users? We've made some successes over the years on what we tell users to do, and they do it, and they remember it. They remember that Wi-Fi's have to be locked down. They know there need to be passwords on routers. They get that now. Everybody remembers the old days where nobody was doing it. You could drive through streets and pick up all sorts of Wi-Fi's. Everybody's locking down their Wi-Fi now. That's a success story. We tell people to run an antivirus, run a malware program on your laptop. Many of us go to universities or are in businesses or in industries where that's required. If it's not on your laptop, you're not going to have your laptop there. That's good. We've also been working really, really hard on phishing, right? Everybody here has probably been through some kind of a phishing training or runs a phishing training or has to measure how well phishing training is working. We are making some progress in this area. But success has limits. And the risks are much greater than the places we've had successes. So, not all the routers are in the homes where users have control over them. They meet up with routers all day long that aren't theirs. We have trust that these routers are protected or locked or safe, but we don't know. We have devices that are wandering all day long, having communications with all sorts of different places. We have Bluetooth, which is now a major vector. It's a major issue, especially if you take Bluetooth low energy into effect, which we all have all sorts of devices on us that are giving out all sorts of information or collecting up information if we want to. And all of these things are happening all day long, and some of them are, some small amount of them are risks. And the user has no idea. And it's because we're connecting to the internet, or we're interconnecting, not necessarily with the internet, but with all sorts of different things all through our lives. This is the IoT. This is our new world. So, what's the problem with this? Well, part of the problem is we have social contracts. We have constructs of privacy. We have understanding of what's protected, what's public, what's private. And we've done a really good job about that as a society, but those understandings don't hold up to our technology anymore. I'll give you an example. Who here has ever used Kroger? Okay. I don't know if this is a regional thing. I'm going to be careful with this. Kroger. Any grocery store. When you go to Kroger and you buy something, you're going to use your discount card. And very likely you're going to use your credit card. Now, raise your hand if you think this is a truly private transaction. Of course it's not. And we know that, right? There's a database connected to this. There's a database connected to that. And if subpoenas roll down, information's coming because these are not a truly private transaction. Okay, great. And people get that. People understand that. What's the universal form of purchasing privately? Cash. Our buddy Cash. Walk in that store, boom. Do you use your Kroger Plus card? No. No, you don't use your Kroger Plus card. Or you ask for a new Kroger Plus card, right? And that keeps it transaction private as long as you never use that second Kroger Plus card again. Great. And this is an understanding of privacy that we have, except for there's a problem with it. The problem is that credit card machine is at a fixed location that I know. It's right here when you're doing your transaction, right? And you stand right next to it, whether you're using cash or credit card. You're right there. Well, if I'm Kroger or I'm anybody else, what's to keep me from taking a Bluetooth box and a Wi-Fi box, shielding it really heavy so that it only has about 1.5 foot range? And every time I run a transaction, I just do a quick scan of what's in a 1 foot area. And I already picked you up with Kroger Plus card and credit card 20 times. Go ahead and use your cash. I already know who you are. And I'll still attach it to my database. Because these things, whether you're a Fitbit, whether you're a phone, all of these things are identifiers. This is what people don't understand. This is the new edge of technology meeting privacy, and our old social constructs are gone. People have a feeling of this threat. They have it when we have breaches. When people find out that your teddy bears could spy on you. By the way, I'll show you that in a minute. When you can use toy unicorns to track where children are and communicate with them. When I can take over the entire lighting system of your house through your crock pot. Okay? Or worse than that, a later team, not my team, found out that I can attach to the crock pot, and if you're attached to the crock pot at the same time, I can steal the pictures off your phone. Okay? People hear about these, and what do they think? This new world we live in, I'll just turn off my phone. Okay? But the reality is we can't do this. This is the world we live in. This is the world our users live in. There's no removing yourself from it. You can't say I won't buy an IoT fridge because in 5 years all fridges will be IoT. There's just not going to be an option. So what is it our users need? Well, they need some education. And they need some education, frankly, that doesn't necessarily come from engineers. Because the education that comes from engineers is typically a text wall, and nobody's going to read it anyways. Right? They need an education that they can understand. And they need some basic directions. We don't go into great detail about the decision-making process that goes into who gets to go when at a stoplight and what the exact timings are on things. We just give people green, yellow, red. And it works really well. So, why does this work? This works because we have mental models that are simple and that affect us at an emotional level that we can remember. Now, these are tricky. Some are related to age. For instance, we've done studies where we found that over the age of 60, a mental model related to space is what people understand. Whereas if you're 45 and under, it's totally dirt and disease. Okay? And if we speak to those in our education, we have an impact. And those impacts lead to a change in actions. And let me give you an example. So how many people here have ever been instructed, for the love of God, don't pick up a USB drive in the parking lot and take it and put it into the server? Raise your hand if that's been an instruction set. Now raise your hand again if you've done it. Yeah, nobody's going to fast to it. Right? But a user doing that's a serious problem. And so we worked with the question, how do you impress upon users so that they remember not to do it again? And I'm going to give you an example. This is our mental model video. This was used with an industry partner. They used this video, and 6 months later, everybody still remembers this video. Ready? Can you see it? Okay. Here we go. Very short. And I have to give permission, sorry. Oh, how embarrassing. This video is really memorable, okay? Because we wouldn't just pick up candy and shove it in our mouth if it was dirty on the ground. Most of us wouldn't, at least. So, we work with things like this. I'll give you another example, which I'll probably have to give permission to as well. Sorry about this. But this one, it's about passwords. Maybe single-use passwords are, maybe using your passwords across multiple things is a really bad idea. Does that make sense? Okay. So, let's talk about a case example. In front of me, I've got a Cloud Pet Unicorn. There's another one over there. Cloud Pet also made kitty cats. And the Cloud Pet Unicorn is a simple child's toy. It's actually a really good idea. When mommy or daddy have to go overseas and far away, this toy becomes the point of contact. Children record to this. Its heart light goes on. It sends a message. They send it back over the phone. It comes back down to the toy. The heart blinks. Blammo, we have our opportunity to listen to what mommy says. And it gives them a great way to talk via this stuffed, cute toy. It's cheap toy. It relies on Bluetooth Low Energy. You shook your head no. Okay, you know it's coming here. And it's one of the few toys in the world to actually have been removed from Amazon and eBay due to the failures I'm about to show you. So, it runs off Bluetooth Low Energy. If you don't know Bluetooth Low Energy, it's a pretty simple protocol, and it's what we use for our Fitbits and other things. It runs batteries for a long time. Broadcast to roughly 30, 40 feet, depending. A single device, a single central can speak to a single one of these toys at a time, so the toy broadcasts constantly, and when I link to it, it ceases to broadcast and I can interact with it. But one of the problems with Bluetooth Low Energy is in a badly done implementation, it has no security. And we'll take just a second here, and I will give you a live demonstration of the problem. So this is a simple set of JavaScript. And what this allows me to do is I can connect to the toy. I can find the toy. I can find the toy within about 50 feet, which, just so we're clear, is about the distance from the middle of a standard residential street to any point in a home. And I can use that to find out which room of the home the toy is in. Then I can take the toy over. Now, once I've taken the toy, this takes just a moment. I can do whatever I want with it. I can issue commands that don't exist in gameplay. I can choose to record with it. For example, remember how I said the heart goes on when you record normally? Well, that's a separate software command. I could just choose not to turn that on, and instead I could just start recording without you knowing that I'm doing it, yada yada, and then when we're done, I can mic your house. Or if I wanted to, I could give the command that makes it look like a message has come from a parent when it hasn't. And I could actually shove my own audio across to it, and then I could actually play my audio remotely. Good, half the audience got that. That's excellent. But instead of it being a Dalek yelling, it could be instead, hey, this is mommy, I'm back early, don't wake daddy, come outside. And that's when things get very scary. Now that's ignoring the fact that they stored their entire database of user accounts, passwords, and audio recordings in an unprotected location, and it all got stolen. That's a whole other story. But as a direct threat against people, I can drive by your home, and I can find this. And I can talk to it, and I can locate the bedroom with it. And it's only one of many products. So we concern ourselves greatly with this question of what is possible in the IoT world, and what new threats are we facing in the IoT world? Okay. But it's not just Bluetooth. I can give you an example of Wi-Fi that's an issue. Now, FisherPrice. Tell me if you've ever heard of the brand named FisherPrice. Okay, this is a respected brand. You could easily write off the cloud pet as saying, who knows that person, that's just some small company in the middle of nowhere, whatever. But FisherPrice is going to get it right. No, they're really not. Okay? So we took this toy and a high school student, and we said, hey, let's find out what's going on inside. Now, the way this toy works is you hold a card in front of its face, it sees the card, it plays the game. That way a child doesn't have to use a toy. Now, a phone to play with. Now, a parent also has a phone, and they can issue great game commands like brush your teeth, clean your room, go to bed, which is why parents love this toy. Okay? But the child deals with it primarily through these cards and a very small nose camera. Now, our assumption was, okay, they put a nose camera in. The pictures are very simple. It must be a grayscale, high-contrast image. You have to hold it 4 inches off the nose. That must mean that, okay, this camera's got maybe some sort of a lens on it that's got a high angle, so after 6 inches you can't see anything because it's all blurry. Totally makes sense. Not scary at all. Well, that's not what we found. It knows when it's been thrown up and down. It knows when it's being hugged. And it has a power point on its back that when you plug it in, it shuts down and does Wi-Fi enabled backups. Now, what does this mean we know? It's Wi-Fi capable. I will give away the fact that the power unit on the back does not carry data. They data clipped it, so that's good. But we have interesting concerns about this because when we open it up and look inside, this is what we find. Now, the A23 dual-core chip was the first thing that caught our attention. That's pretty interesting. The 32 gig hard drive also caught our attention. Now, we knew there'd be a Realtek card in there. That's no surprise. That's the Wi-Fi Bluetooth. Down here, this ribbon port for an LCD, that's kind of odd because there's no LCD anywhere. This camera here, that was a little concerning, but we already knew about it. Didn't seem to have a lens cap on it. But can you guys see this right here? What does that look like? That's a micro USB port hiding inside the center of a machine. Wonder what that's for. Shall I show you? This is an Android tablet. That's all it is. Okay? And what they did was they crammed it in the head. They ran a specialized operating system that uses 2 gigs and leaves 30 gigs unallocated in case anybody wants someplace to stuff data of whatever kind. It's all out there. And it turns out the camera runs all the time. Turns out the camera is a 1080p video camera. But it gets better. It's running Android 4.4.2. It's a full Android tablet and a teddy bear's head. Oh, but it gets better. So I thought today, hey, while I'm here, let me just shoot some video through the teddy bear of the back speaker room. Ah, come on, really? My apologies. But I do want you to be able to see this. So if we... Here we go. You can see that it's rotated up, but as you can see, I have full control. I can do full video. There we go. Why can I do this? I can do this because it is a full Android and it's running a standard operating system, and I'm able to do it because they stripped out all the users. They're running the operating system completely as root, and debugger mode is turned on by default. Anybody who plugs into that port has full control to install any software they want at all. I mean, you could install things like this old Netcat ping that I've got here. You could install versions of Tor, not that you're going to do a whole lot with it. But most importantly, you can install TCP/IP-based remote access software like Visor, which is what we did. And I can run it over TCP/IP. I don't have to have a direct cable if I don't want to. Which means that all I need is physical access to the toy for 3 minutes. I have to make a little seam cut, plug in, pull out, replace my seam, on its way. Wherever it wakes up, I have full control. And this is not a unique toy. There are plenty of other toys that have problems. This one's just really egregious. Because some engineer somewhere decided that nobody would ever open up a toy and look inside. So, what does that mean? It means that we need to be looking at ways that we can empower users to protect themselves against these kind of attacks and others. Most importantly, I'm interested in the question of Wi-Fi, and I'm really interested in the question of Bluetooth Low Energy, because Bluetooth Low Energy is pervasive on our bodies and our homes, and a lot of these devices scream out and tell a lot of people around them, so they're valuable enough to drive. You ever drive down the street with just a Bluetooth scanner on? You'd be amazed what you see. And the question is, how do we protect ourselves from people who are doing these things? Whether it's to actually take the device, whether it's to dock somebody for something embarrassing in their home, for whatever reason. And this is where we began asking this question of if we could protect our users. So, what's the design we'd be looking for? We'd be looking for something that requires minimal education for the user to use. We'd be looking at something that empowers mitigation, where a user can protect themselves. And we're looking for something that gave them real-time information. So, a little bit of education, but mostly really simple communication of ambient threat situations. Does that make sense? So, you've seen the attack against this guy. This is the Securtle itself. It's a cute little guy. And yes, it's still very much in its proof of concept stage. So, it is. Oops. There we go. We'll let it wake up. Long term, our goal is to have, who here ever has heard of a Tamagotchi? Good. It basically just a little toy about this big, hangs off your backpack, hangs off your purse. And it carries very little information. It could be as simple as a button like the glowy buttons we have here. You get it small, you get it to where the user can wear it, and then you get it so that what it does is as it measures certain parameters around it, it just changes colors. Just simple colors, right? Because we all know that green means things are going pretty good. Yellow means we should probably be concerned about what's going on. And red means, oh God, stop. Whatever's happening, let's just stop. Right? So, while it's waking up, I'll show you an example. So if we do an attack on the unicorn, you've seen what happens, correct? The unicorn will follow my commands. And really, a parent has no way to know that this is happening in the house. And the child effectively has no idea of knowing that somebody else is attacking the toy. But what if instead we set this so that when the attack comes, the attack actually has to pick which of the two unicorns are there. And if it picks a unicorn that's not really a unicorn and issues any command, that's giving the command to the unicorn, that's the real unicorn. And then when he goes back and he does a second one, he chooses the other unicorn because we have the turtle showing up as a unicorn. It looks exactly like a unicorn to anybody externally with a USB, I mean with a Bluetooth Low Energy, and they issue any kind of connection command, the turtle goes ballistic. Goes red. Lets you know that somebody's attempting to connect to Bluetooth devices in your home. Now, we can rotate this out. It doesn't have to be... Why are you not waking up? It doesn't have to be... doesn't have to be Cloud Pet. We can set this up as anything. As a matter of fact, what we'd like to do is set it up as a series of 12 different devices. That if you stood in front of my house, you'd just see all these different Bluetooth Low Energy devices popping up and shutting down and popping up. It would be like visual glimmer. It would be amazing. And if you connected to any of them, I would catch you doing it. And then I would know you'd be there doing it. Now, what about Wi-Fi? Can we do the same thing via Wi-Fi? Yes, absolutely. If you attempt to talk to the turtle via Wi-Fi, through ping, through an SSH, through anything like that, we'll catch you doing it, and we'll know instantly. And what we do, hardware-wise, is pretty simple. Currently, we're just using a Raspberry Pi Zero. Big battery board. It's really that easy. And then Python modules. And basically using a graduated number system. So we determine what level of threat given activities are. Those accumulate up. And when they reach a certain threshold, number-wise, it goes to yellow. When they reach a certain threshold level, they go to red. Does that make sense? Okay. And the modules can be laid out in 1,000 different ways. And our long-term goal is to actually move this off of Python and Pi to something that's much more board dedicated on a smaller PCB board so that we can get the size of the thing down. Right now it's enormous. And also it uses way too much battery. But you get the concept. Now, the question many people ask is, okay, this is great, but how does this help Grandma? Well, it helps Grandma because Grandma then knows what behaviors to do and not do. I'm at Starbucks. I want to log into my bank account. Okay. I'll go over to the Securtle. Securtle's green. Probably okay to log into the bank account. If I look over at the Securtle and it's red, all I got to do is say, Grandma, if it's red, don't do anything. Just do something else. Now's not the time to log into the bank account. She doesn't need to know why it's red. Although we've been asked for people to please put a little monochrome board on the bottom to give a readout of why it's doing it so the geeks can have all of our fun understanding what's really going on and maybe try to find the person in there that's doing something they shouldn't. But Grandma doesn't need to know that, and my 8-year-old doesn't need to know that. They just need to know that right now something is going on and they need to be at a higher level of security in their behaviors. And they need to mitigate against those. Does that make sense? Okay. And that is, for the most part, what the Securtle is designed to do. It does a pretty good job. We're still in production of it. We are interested, if there are other people who want to work with us, we would definitely be interested in talking more about it. I've got some information here. For those of you who've never been to Adafruit, Adafruit is the best thing in the world. It's the coolest website for learning how to do things, especially Bluetooth Low Energy. Trying trying to see where I'm on my time card here. Okay, we just got a little bit of time. So, anybody have any questions? Yeah.
With your project, have you thought about doing something like with SDR where it looks at different spectrums besides just
Yeah, so we'd like to do basically all the spectrums. We'd like to do Zigbee and everything we can get our hands on. The trick is power consumption. Right now, because we're on Raspberry Pi Zero, our time on life on that, even though that battery is pretty big, our time on life is only about an hour, which doesn't really give us much. If we can get smaller, we want to put more antennas in it. We want to put more frequencies in it, but we also want to begin rotating out other things so that we have a series of things that it looks like. On the Wi-Fi, we'd like to have 2 separate Wi-Fis running. We quickly get into a problem with Wi-Fi on the question of, do we only attach to other Wi-Fis and watch behaviors coming in, or do we try to do some analysis of actual traffic that's flowing? We have one PhD whose current work right now is analyzing packet behaviors in the Wi-Fi spectrum so that you can watch packets coming through and begin to say, okay, that's a camera. Okay, that is a doorbell. Okay, that is a laptop. And then begin to assign numbers to those, because you can begin to say, well, if it's a thermostat for, a house, we can rate that lower. If that's a camera, maybe that's a little bit higher. If that's a laptop, okay, now we really got to be concerned. But we're still in progress on that.
Is your thought to make it like a pendant or a watch?
We'd like to get it the size of what he's wearing right now that's blinking at me. So about this big is what we would like. The turtle is the form we're very happy with, so it's our little Securtle, but it could be anything. By making it a cute little turtle, it creates the image of, when a turtle gets scared, it pulls in and hides and is safe. And that's kind of what we're telling our users to do, is they don't necessarily need to know why we're telling them to hide, but now's a good time to hide. Or at least not interact in risky behaviors at that time. If that makes sense. Anybody else have any questions?
Is the turtle our production toy, or did you make it?
We made it. Right now it's handmade. We made this thing ourselves, and then we are moving on forward into trying to get it smaller, and then we'll go into production if it's deemed to. We've got our university's patent people are looking at and trying to tell us if it's interesting enough to be really interesting or if it's not. And partly we have to wait for them to make that decision to see where we go from here. But, okay. Any other questions? Is the turtle broadcasting right now? The turtle is actually a passive toy at this time. It did turn red? Wow. Yeah. Yep. So he's the one who did it. Yeah. And that's the idea. So we made it a Cloud Pet because Cloud Pet is an extremely well-known toy that can be attacked. A lot of Bluetooth Low Energy devices don't broadcast their names, which is the way to do it, but some do. So frankly, our plan was to make it, if we picked out 12, we'd have a handful of toys in there. We'd probably put some little bit racier, maybe adult materials in there. That would be very exciting for somebody to run across and attack on. And maybe some things that sound like they were sensitive data information. And basically just put out really baiting honeypots. And if anybody attempts to attach to it, then we've got something going on. We've not planned to do anything where we're actually broadcasting at this point, nor are we looking to set up actual attachment points where we would actually create a honeypot that somebody would attach to. That's the step too far we can't go to. So, yeah. Any other questions? Say that again, because I like it. Go ahead.
You thought of adding lasers or guns to it?
Lasers or guns to it? We've considered audio Because one of the problems with making it so that it's yellow, green, green, yellow, red, is that people who are colorblind red-green can't tell the difference between good state and difficult state. So we've been looking at its green solid, yellow slow pulsing, red fast pulsing, or just putting an alarm on it. Alarms are tricky because users very quickly grow to ignore them. So you have to use them extremely sparingly. And we've not gone there yet. Lasers would be cool. Anything else? Any questions about any of the other work? Yeah. So the way we've got it currently set up, if you ping on it or you do any other sort of simple recon to it, it'll begin turning yellow pretty quickly, and it'll put up with that for a little bit, but it'll eventually accumulate to red. If instead you attempt to SSH into it and you fail authentication against SSH twice, it goes straight to red. It won't put up with that at all. So it's a graduated system. We're doing it on a number base, and we'll fine tune it eventually. But the idea is the concept that some things are risky, but not that risky, and then some things are really risky. And when we eventually put it out, we'd like to have it so that people can those people who are really into it would have the option to self-adjust up and down what they wanted their risk levels to be. Do they want it to be draconian and go off easy, or do they want to live life a little riskier? So. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, it does Wi-Fi right now, actually. Currently, it is not set to understand a man-in-the-middle attack. I would have to think about how we tell it. I would have to think on that, because it depends on what kind of man-in-the-middle attack you're doing, obviously. I mean, it's going to... Yep, absolutely. Yes. If the pineapple is simply watching traffic going through and acting passively, it's at current setting, it's not going to know. However, if the pineapple is set to do anything back at the target system, so if you create a hotspot using a pineapple or an alpha or whatever you're going to do, and the reason you're doing that is just because you're going to sniff stuff as it goes through and then you'll do something with it later, we're not going to pick that up. But if you're doing that so that when his laptop attaches to your pineapple, you're going to go ahead and use that hotspot to try to come back at his machine and exfiltrate something actively, we would totally pick up on that. So right now we're dealing with active attacks against the turtle. We're not doing anything that's passive at that level. We don't have a mechanism for that yet. I'm sure we'll think of something, we just don't have that yet. So I have to think about how we would do that. Because we probably could do some sort of sending information out to a known end source and watch how it flows through and see if there's variations and use some sort of thing back on that. But I just honestly, I don't know. So, any other questions? All right. Well, then I guess we have